Seat have come a very long way in a very short period of time. And like anything that climbs to dizzy new heights, you wonder if they're going to be able to keep the balance up here, or if they're going to topple down the other side. Since VW took over at Seat, the car that I'm about to drive has changed in every way, except the name. Starting from the floor pan up, this Seat Ibiza TDI Sport is now the pound stretcher version of the VW Polo TDI. And at 10,750 quid, it's blooming good value. So will the bargain basement Ibiza keep Seat's fortunes riding along the crest of a wave, or do you just get what you pay for? With Seat being part of the VW family, you'd think it'd inherit some of the quality. I mean, after all, there's nothing as reliable as your Volkswagen. And from the moment I clunk the door shut, it sounds and it looks very familiar. I mean, this well laid out dash features some of VW's best switchgear. I particularly like this central LCD screen, which gives you readouts on everything, including the outside temperature. And it's touches like that, plus coming as standard, things like the CD player, the AC, the electric window, the central locking, plus the great build quality and finish inside here that's really making this bargain basement Ibiza good value for money. Worked hard on changing their outward image too. If you remember, the Ibiza of the early 90s was a box on wheels, and there was no way that could compete in today's extremely competitive super mini class. It had to get sporty and groovy, and it did in late 1999, and it became all curvy and slick. But it's all very well having a sporty image. You need a sporty performance to gain real street cred. Well, this might be where our lovely little makeover story falters slightly, because the stats for this car aren't particularly scintillating. This 1.9 TDI has got 90 brake horsepower, and it'll go from 0 to 60 in 12.1 seconds, and eventually up to 112 miles an hour. It's hardly hot hatch material, but it does do 57 miles to the gallon. Not that that's going to impress the boy and girl racers that this car is actually aimed at. But for anyone who is working to a budget, this car is perfect. It's cheap to buy, cheap to run, and on top of that, it feels sturdy and solid. And once it's up and running, it pulls really well and actually feels quicker than the stats suggest. This car doesn't feel very agile. Turn into a corner and the steering, well, it feels really rather vague. And the chassis, well, it doesn't live up to the sporty looks. It's not very lively. And as for body roll, well, there's plenty more than with most of its rivals. It offers a good driving position though, and there's loads more room inside than in a Fiesta or a Saxo. The boot offers a reasonable amount of space as well. So for a super mini, it ain't all that mini. All the way through this review, I've been saying this car is great in this respect, but it's not so good in this department. I've really been flummoxed. And I think I've worked out why. It's because this car is aimed at the boy racer with its sporty, styly looks. But I think it's more likely to attract the bargain hunter, someone who is quite happy to do 60 miles to the gallon, not very fast at all. So back to my initial question, will this Ibiza keep Seat's fortunes riding on the crest of a wave, or is it just bargain basement trash? Well, I don't think it's bargain basement trash, but as for it being a car of great note, well, it might be actually. To Mr. Brown, who's 29 from Stoke and travels 40 miles a day to work. But as for Daz, 19 from Barnsley, who's looking for a hot hatch, I think he's going to dismiss it really rather quickly. Now, for me, this car is going to attract different customers to what Seat are expecting.